Have you ever felt it? That strange moment late at night when the room is quiet, but something inside you feels awake. A subtle pressure moving up your spine, a hum beneath your skin like quiet electricity, and then something even stranger. Dreams, visions, presences that feel not entirely human. Some people call them guides, some call them interdimensional beings, and some call them aliens. If you've been experiencing this after a deep spiritual awakening, you might have asked yourself one unsettling question. Why does awakening sometimes feel like contact? Across spiritual traditions, there is an ancient idea that inside every human being lies a dormant force of consciousness, a coiled energy often described as Kundalini. When this energy begins to rise, people don't just change emotionally. They begin to perceive reality differently, not necessarily in a literal extraterrestrial sense, but symbolically, energetically, psychologically. Many people interpret these shifts as encounters with beings, intelligences, or presences that feel otherworldly, not because something external suddenly appeared, but because their perception expanded beyond the ordinary boundaries of identity. And when the mind opens that wide, reality can feel far stranger than we ever imagined. One of the first experiences people describe is the feeling that they are no longer alone in their inner world, not in a frightening way, more like a quiet awareness that something is watching with curiosity. Some interpret this as spirit guides, others interpret it as extraterrestrial intelligence. Symbolically, many psychologists and mystics see it as something else entirely, the awakening of the observing self. A moment when consciousness separates from old identity. You are no longer just the character in your life story. You begin to feel the witness behind the character. And when that witnessing awareness first appears, it can feel like another intelligence has entered the room. But in many ways, it may simply be you meeting your own deeper consciousness. After energetic awakenings, dreams often become strange. Cities of light, strange architectures, star-filled landscapes, encounters with beings that feel ancient, calm, curious. Many people wake up wondering whether it was just a dream or if something actually happened. From a symbolic perspective, dreams are the language of transformation. Your mind is trying to reorganize your sense of reality. When the psyche expands beyond old limitations, it often expresses itself through cosmic imagery, because the subconscious knows something profound. Your identity is expanding beyond the small box you once believed you lived inside. So the mind paints with stars, galaxies, and unfamiliar beings, not necessarily as literal aliens, but as symbols of a universe suddenly appearing inside you. Another experience many describe is a subtle electricity moving through the body. A pulse along the spine, a tingling at the crown of the head. In spiritual language, this is often associated with the awakening of Kundalini energy, but emotionally it can symbolize something deeper. Your nervous system is adjusting to new levels of awareness. Old emotional armor begins to dissolve. Energy that was once locked into survival patterns starts to move again. And when that happens, people sometimes feel like they're tuning into a signal they never heard before, which is why many interpret the sensation as frequency alignment with something beyond Earth. Symbolically, though, it may simply be your system learning to carry more consciousness than it ever has before. After awakening, many people begin to feel like they no longer fully belong in the world they once knew. Conversations feel shallow and old goals lose meaning. A strange thought sometimes appears asking, what if I'm not really from here? In spiritual communities, this idea often becomes the concept of starseeds. People who feel their soul originates somewhere beyond Earth, but psychologically and symbolically, this feeling often emerges when identity structures dissolve. You are no longer operating from the same beliefs, fears, or survival roles you once had. So naturally, the world built around those roles begins to feel unfamiliar. It's not necessarily that you came from another planet. It's that the version of you who belonged to the old world is disappearing. And that can feel like becoming a stranger in your own reality. Many people also report something surprising during awakening. Thoughts that feel like they arrive rather than originate. Insights appearing instantly. Ideas forming before words. Sometimes it feels like a message being received. Some interpret this as communication with extraterrestrial intelligence. Others see it as channeling. But from another perspective, this may be the mind reconnecting with deep intuition. When the noise of old conditioning quiets, something ancient inside us begins to speak. A form of intelligence that doesn't use language. It communicates through knowing. And when that inner voice becomes clear, it can feel almost alien compared to the mind we used to live in. Because for the first time, your awareness is listening to something deeper than thought. Perhaps the most profound experience people describe is the sudden feeling that the boundary between self and universe is dissolving. Moments where everything feels connected, where consciousness seems to stretch far beyond the body. In those moments, it can feel like you're touching something vast, something cosmic. Some people interpret these states as contact with higher dimensional beings. But mystics throughout history describe something similar long before the language of extraterrestrials existed. They called it unity consciousness, the realization that the awareness looking through your eyes is not separate from the universe itself. And when that realization first arrives, the experience can feel so foreign and so vast that the mind tries to translate it through the only imagery it knows, encounters with other intelligences. When we step back and look at all these experiences together, a deeper pattern begins to emerge. The sensations, the dreams, and the strange feeling of becoming someone new all point toward the same transformation. The shedding of an old identity. For most of our lives, we operate from patterns built by fear, survival, expectation, and social conditioning. But awakening begins to dismantle those structures layer by layer. Belief by belief, mask by mask. And when the personality dissolves like that, the psyche often expresses the transformation through archetypal imagery. Cosmic beings, interdimensional contact, alien intelligence. Not necessarily as literal encounters, but as the mind's attempt to describe something extraordinary. The moment a human being realizes their consciousness is far larger than the story they were living inside. You are not just the role, not just the name, and not just the history. You are the awareness behind it all. And when that awareness wakes up, the entire universe begins to feel like it's waking up with you. So if you've been experiencing strange dreams, unusual sensations, and moments where reality feels bigger, stranger, and more mysterious, you are not broken. And you are not losing yourself. Many people interpret these experiences in different ways: spiritual, psychological, symbolic, or cosmic. But one theme appears again and again. They happen when a person begins to outgrow the identity they once lived in, when consciousness stretches beyond old boundaries. And in that space, everything can feel unfamiliar, even yourself. But unfamiliar doesn't mean wrong. Sometimes it means you are finally seeing reality without the filters that once kept it small. So if this resonates with you, take a breath, be curious, and move slowly. Remember that awakening rarely feels ordinary because it isn't. It is the quiet moment when the person you thought you were begins to transform into the person you were always becoming. If this message found you at the right moment, let me know in the comments what part resonated most with your journey. And if you're exploring these deeper layers of consciousness, subscribe and join this space where we explore the mysteries of awakening together. Until next time, stay curious and stay awake.